Indie Fish TV is excited to welcome Canadian, Trinidadian, R&B, soul, and gospel singer-songwriter Aphrose. Aphrose has quickly become a commanding presence on the Toronto music scene, with a reputation as a powerhouse soul and R&B vocalist. Her immense talents have endowed her with opportunities to work with the notable Canadian R&B star Daniel Caesar, as well as perform as direct support for icons Rain Maida and Chantal Kreviazuk on a sold-out Canadian tour. Aphrose's song Make Your Mark was featured as Song of the Week on the popular CBC's Here and Now radio. Her prodigious voice can be heard on nationally televised commercials in support of the Toronto Raptors. Let's go Aphrose! Aphrose's debut album, Element, is out now and available on all major streaming platforms. And of course, you can catch her right here on Indie Fish TV.
Some things you just can't question, even though you want to try and find the reason. Sometimes the road gets so dark and impossible to try and make a start. It is a battle, it is a battle. Be proud of your battle scars. It is a battle, it is a battle. Be proud of who you are. Make your mark. Take aim, hit hard. Make your mark. Ain't no shame in who you I found a love deep within me, and it's taken many years to finally see it. What is the point of all your fighting? There ain't no freedom if you are always hiding. It is a battle, it is a battle. Be proud of your battle scars. It is a battle, it is a battle. So be proud of who you are. Make your mark. Take aim, hit hard. Make your mark. Ain't no shame in who you are. Ain't no shame in who you are. Ain't no shame in who you are. Ain't no shame in who you are.
Indie Fish TV. We are sitting down with Aphrose. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for being a part of the show. What a talent to have on Indie Fish TV.
Aw, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So you recently had the life-altering experience of becoming a mother, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm just wondering, like, how much of a role, like, if you're finding that's playing a role in how you write or how you create, like, are you finding it's changing the way you think about music and your approach to creating, anything like that?
Yeah, and no. It's the weirdest thing. It's the weirdest thing. Obviously, it's impacted my life, like becoming a mom. It's impacted the way I conduct my day, because I'm on this like schedule of 3 to 4 hour chunks of time, even through the night. So it's definitely made me like be smart about my time. So if I, if the baby's napping for like an hour or two, I somehow have started this routine of doing a little bit of writing. It could be anything. I'm trying to have a lot of grace with myself at this time because I'm a new mom. Yeah. And we're in a global pandemic and life is so different, for all of us. So I'm just trying to have that patience with myself and just kind of write whatever I'm feeling in the moment. It could be lyrics, it could be chords, it could be a phrase, and it's just something. And I've just found that lately I've been getting like these bursts of creativity, which is awesome because in the first, I would say in the first few months of becoming a mom, so my baby was born in the beginning of April 1st.
Wow.
Yeah.
Shortly after like everything shut down.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like it was just like in the thick of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And a lot of, we're 10 months or 11 months out of that. So we're kind of like, we've adapted to this new lifestyle, but like back in April, everything was just so crazy. And so in the first few months, I think I was also suffering a bit from postpartum anxiety, and I thought I would never write again or sing a note again. And it was the weirdest thing because I had never felt that way ever in my life. And I remember thinking, I don't know if this part of me has completely died, and that this music, this singing part of me, this writing part of me. And it was really hard at first. And so I just kind of like muscled through it, have a lot of supportive, awesome friends and family. And then, 3-4 months after the fact, I started to kind of like more clear patterns with the baby started to emerge. And I was able to kind of have little nuggets of time after I put her down for the night and I had the creativity. I had the words and the music and the chords coming to me, and it blew my mind because I've written quite a bit since since I started writing again.
So kind of on that same train, and I'm gonna have to like pick up my notes, and I hate looking at my notes, but I thought of you actually when I was sort of constructing some questions for this interview, because I've been listening to throughout the quarantine. I've kind of adapted to new things that I'd never really done before, and one of them was listening to podcasts. Like just been listening to all of these, and it's great. And it's a new source of kind of like information and intelligence and creativity. Anyway, so I I came across this Radiolab podcast, and it was called The Cataclysm Statement. And I just thought it was really inspiring. So basically, I'm just going to read the premise. So it was inspired by a physicist. His name is Richard Feynman. And he posed this question. He was a physicist posing this question to undergraduate students in his class. And I just want to get it right. So if in some cataclysm, all of scientific knowledge were to be destroyed and only one sentence was passed on to the next generation of creatures, what statement would contain the most information in the fewest words? Now, of course, he's a scientist and he had a very sort of quantifiable scientific answer. But the cool thing was that the podcast, they sort of like branched off from there, and they had gathered the insight of writers and artists and authors, sort of posing the same kind of question in a different way, not in like scientifically related, but kind of this idea, like if a cataclysm, were to occur, you know, if there was one single piece of information, whether it be a piece of art or like a line, a sentence, that would come to mind that you would give or pass off to you know, whoever would roam the earth, you know, after all of this, all the dust settles, and like the first, you know, human to sort of come out of that. And I thought of you, you know, because you're a woman of color, you're an artist, you're a mom, you know, and I just thought it'd be interesting to sort of pose that question to you and get your kind of insight.
Yeah, I mean, that's a hard,
I know, it's like
a hard question.
I haven't come up with one myself, but and it is a kind of a tough question to pose. There were so many different answers. I would definitely recommend checking out the podcast.
I will.
Yeah, it was some beautiful answers, but yeah, no pressure, but
yeah, no, I think I've got something, but I think after this, after our chat, I'm gonna be like, it's gonna be like 2 a.m. I'm gonna wake up and be like, damn it, I should have said this. But
light bulb moments, yes.
What's coming to my mind right now is the phrase live life without expectations.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
I you know what, that's on par with some of the ones that I had heard. That's I think it is, you know, that's something I often try to tell myself, you know, this idea of expectations, and how often, you know, having expectations can be so detrimental in a way,
totally.
you know, to your life. Mm-hmm. I think that's a great answer. I think that's a really great answer. Yeah, because I mean, it's kind of like glass half full, half empty, because you want to have expectations. You want to, you know, right, anticipate and expect, but at the same time, my rule is always like, you keep low expectations. Of course, I think this is sort of an artist's mind, you know, it's like you keep really low expectations, and then, you know, the results are bound to be better than that, you know.
Yeah.
I know it's very self-deprecating, but I think that we can all relate to that.
It's definitely an artisty thing to like think that way, just because, you know, our world, the entertainment world, the art world is so, you know, it's so objective. Like, what's good, what's bad, what's real, what's fake, like, we don't know. Like, all of the lines are blurred. And I think
exactly.
Yeah, like for myself, I just kind of, there have been many times in my life where I've been so sure that like this thing was gonna happen, or you know, like it could be music related, it could be life related, it could be whatever. But like I would just like hang on to this belief that this thing would happen, and then it just, you know, it wouldn't, and I'd be so disappointed. And time and time again, I started to think like, okay, you know, this isn't the mindset, because like when I start thinking about an outcome, or I have an expectation of how something's going to pan out and it doesn't, it's just like the disappointment of that stays with me, and it just like, it brings me down, you know? So I've learned to just be more trusting in the universe, in God. And like, I'm just kind of like, I'm doing this thing. And, you know, I'm making this music, I'm writing this music, I'm writing this song, and whoever it's meant to touch and speak to, it will. That's it. And I think like just slowing down to just kind of like, you know, take it like a minute at a time, and like all we have is like now in the moment, you know, and tomorrow is tomorrow, and yesterday was yesterday, and it's just like we can't keep measuring ourselves to a standard that like to something that hasn't even happened yet, and then to our past. Like we have to kind of just like let the universe do its thing. We're here, we're existing, you know.
I think that artists too are really like, they don't take they don't validate themselves, and they don't take stock of like the things that they have actually accomplished, you know, like in your career and your successes, and mine and Kevin's, you know. And it might be like whatever, you know, when you think of measurements and like on a grand scale, you might think, well, that's nothing, but it's not, you know, because we are making a fingerprint, which kind of ties in interestingly to our next question.
Awesome.
Yeah. Which
true, yeah.
I like that. It kind of swings in nicely.
I love it.
I mean, you know, we're orbiting around one general topic, but yeah, like in terms of, you know, lofty expectations and also, you know, talking about future generations and stuff. One thing Scarlett and I talk about somewhat often, or at least have rolled this idea back and forth about the idea of legacy, like what the artist leaves behind, you know, in their art and their message, is in some ways kind of a bit of immortality, you know, like it gives you a sort of a never-ending distance in a way. Hopefully the art, you know, the art lives on. I don't know, do you ever think about your art and, you know, your career in those terms, like just, you know, that in generations from now you'll have left some things that continue to affect people? And I don't know, do you think about that much?
I don't, you know what, I don't think about it much, but I do think about it sometimes. Like I'll be like, what, like randomly walking down the, you know, taking a walk with the stroller or whatever. Like it doesn't even have to be since becoming a mom, but like I guess it kind of, because I've got a child now, and you know, so yeah, it changes things. It changes my perspective. But I have thought about that. I'm like, oh my gosh, like there's a sonic, or like a sound print of like, you know, me out in the world that's going to hopefully live on after I'm gone. And it's wild to think about it, and it's special. And I love the fact that, you know, my child can listen to stuff that I've recorded and have that that part of me, like, you know, live on through her. And I don't know, like, yeah, I think that's like a really heavy question that I don't think about that often, but I think, you know, it is something that I ponder.
There's something really crazy, I don't know, like that I just feel sometimes, like going back to what you were talking about, like, you know, about feeling like sort of self-deprecating about the success or lack of success. But when I think about my music in those terms, then I'm like, oh man, that I succeed, you know, that's like, because I have a magic, which is like the immortality of like being an artist. And
I love that. I love that.
Something super cool about that.
What a great way to like shift your perspective, you know, like shift your thinking when you start to get into a rut.
Yeah.
think about this? I love it. I love this question, by the way, like, because I've thought about it, but I haven't like talked to anyone about it before. So that's really cool.
Yeah, so let's talk about Tafari. He's your indie fish pick. Yeah, so tell us a little bit about Tafari Anthony.
Oh my gosh. Well, I don't know how many people know this, but Tafari and I go back like, oh my God, I would say like 20 years. Crazy. Yeah, we went to the same music school as kids, and we were in the same vocal class together, like as little kids. So I used to sing with him, and we did duets, and that's how I know Tafari. And I don't know, I just reconnected with him over the last 3 years. Because I knew Tafari was doing music. Like we had played a show. I had sang backup vocals for him when he released, I think, his EP. It wasn't his first debut album. It was like an EP of some sort. And I can't remember the year. It was really long time ago. And I knew he was kind of like doing his thing in the music scene, and our circles hadn't crossed yet, like professionally, until I would say until 3-ish or 4 years ago. And we reconnected. We started playing shows together, and I discovered his incredible music that he's been writing and releasing. And like his last EP that he just released is amazing. So good. So good. Mm-hmm. And yeah, like I love that. I love Tafari, and I love everything about him as an artist. And he represents the gay community, and he does so with like such authority and strength and pride and courage. Yeah. He's phenomenal in every way, and just an amazing person with a huge heart and incredible talent, an incredible voice, incredible writing chops, range. Yeah.
Production.
So I love Tafari.
Awesome. All right. Well, without further ado, thank you so much for joining us here at Indie Fish TV. Please welcome Aphrose with her version of No Good by Tafari Anthony.
Explain anymore, that's for a rest. 'Cause goddamn it, I love when you're stressed. See the vein pumping right through your head. I guess some would call us a mess, yeah. Now I'm standing here, feeding obsession with crippling fear. But I love you, dear. Do I need to explain anymore? That's why I had to leave. 'Cause you're no good for me. That's why I had to go. I can't say anymore. I can't say anymore. That's why I had to go away. That's why I had to go away. That's why I had to leave. You're no good for me. That's why I had to go. I can't say anymore. I can't say anymore. I can't say anymore. I can't say anymore. Yeah.
Once more, that was Canadian artist Aphrose covering the music of Tafari Anthony. For more on Aphrose or Tafari or any of our Indie Fish artists, please subscribe to our Indie Fish TV channel, or you can follow us at We Are WOLFVILLE on our Facebook or Instagram.
So thanks for tuning in, everybody. Next week on Indie Fish TV, we have Tafari Anthony covering the music of Lucala. So join us every Thursday on the Indie Fish TV YouTube channel to hear the best of independent Canadian artists covering the music of other incredible independent Canadian artists.
I'm literally wearing pajamas right now on the bottom.
I'm not going to tell you what's on my bottom. Kev, you're up.
Oh,
Okay.
I really gotta pee.